Hi everyone. Today we will be making this. Actually, this is another cool little grid layout that Kevin created. And if you see his live version, so I have it open in the other window. And basically, when it's a responsive grid. So when you collapse it, you see it is moving positions. And then when you collapse it more, it will move again. You see the middle section here is moving position, so now there is two in the side and one in the other side, and you move again more and you will see that there is two of them on the top and the positions are all changing, and the final mobile version, it is all one above the other, and everything looks quite different there. So in this video we will be taking a look at how we can achieve this UI with Tailwind CSS, to be specific. This is going to be quite challenging, and I hope you like it. Okay, I have the project already ready with me. It is just a plain view project. This has nothing to do with view, by the way, this entire exercise. But I just wanted to show how Tailwind really shines when it is used in a component based framework or library like Vue or React. I like Vue, so that's why personally I'm using Vue. But I won't really go too deep into Vue. Maybe at the end of the video I'll go more in depth. But if I go over the folder structure here, you will see it is a typical Vue application, typical Tailwind application, and we have the Tailwind config. I will go over each and every one of those. I already have set it up. So I have set it up to be this. Basically, we have no styling as of this point. Everything is stacking on top of each other, and basically nothing is quite right. So if I go over the Tailwind configuration, you see that it finds the index.js and Vue files to find the Tailwind classes. I'm using custom font like the source material, so I will also show you how it has been added. I'm basically adding it in the in the index.html file here, and basically other things are if I go over to the Tailwind CSS config again, so I'm using some background positioning, which is some custom position, so that's why I'm adding it. But still I will go over them each one by one. Again, there is a background image, custom image that we are using, so I have extracted it as a separate utility. And we are using some extending the colors. Basically these are the colors where the opacity values are being referred with via this function. So how is that going to work? So basically, if you see in the root, we are actually defining some colors. You might say, hey, this is not a color, right? Of course this is not a color. These are the values for the R, G and B values. These are the RGB values, but we want to have the flexibility of Tailwind, so we cannot explicitly define the opacity value. So that's where Tailwind comes into play, where if we do it like this with opacity, you see I'm interpolating that variable with the opacity value. However, Tailwind passes it basically. So in order to use it, you can use it something like secondary light, then slash the opacity value, and that will also dynamically generate the correct opacity for you, 10% or any percentage that you want basically. So this is like a rough overview. I will go more in depth once I go into the coding and all that. Other than that, I have also set up this image directory. So here we already have the images that we are going to use for a specific project, and this is the base base CSS file that actually generates the Tailwind CSS. We have post CSS and every thing that you can imagine. One quick note though here, if you see, right, the URL that we are using, we are not using assets/images. If we look at the folder structure, the images are assets, then images, and then we have the background SVG, right? But here we are not doing the assets or even SRC. The source directory and assets are not there. You might ask why. So basically the CSS that this file is going to generate is going to be on the base CSS, right? So it is relative to this base CSS file. You need to target your assets. Just a quick little tip how you can target assets from your Tailwind config if you want to extend Tailwind to your needs. So without further delay, let's jump into it. So actually, before we do that, so Tailwind is a mobile first framework, right? So this is the source one. So this is what we are going to replicate. So the mobile first frameworks really shines when you start from a mobile view. So I'm going to again start from the mobile view. Okay, and before we do that, let's jump in real quick and see how many different breakpoints is this layout using. So as we can see, this is the final large endpoint, large breakpoint. So when we squish it down, this might be a medium, this again medium, then this is maybe small, I'm not sure, and finally this is extra small, not really. I think we are going to have to do XL even, like this is mobile, small, extra small, this is small, that's for tablets and all those things, portrait tablets. Then this is, when you see, this is another breakpoint, maybe this is medium, and this is large, and maybe this is XL. Yep, that looks like a good idea to go with. So we will also do the same, but how would we recognize when we are changing from one breakpoint to other? What I typically do, I will also do here. So basically I'm using so in the app component, if you see, I'm using a layout file. This layout actually really doesn't have anything. It is just centering the entire the entire content in the middle there, and widthful, heightful, and all those things. So that is there, and basically we are also setting a BG natural light. You see the BG natural light, where is this coming from? If you look at that Tailwind config, BG natural light, you see natural light right here. So this is where it is coming from. So again, if we go to app layout file one more time, this is not doing anything. I'm also setting some default line height and all that, just to be consistent. So this is a default that I have set so far. So what I typically do is this, you see. So let me copy it and paste it right here. Okay, control save. So when I save it and I go back, you see, I see background for red. So I typically do RGBA, right? That's what a typical syntax is. So R means small, G means medium, B means large A XL, A for amber, by the way. So when I go all the way, you see XL, it is moving to amber color. And when I go all the way to the XS, it is getting the default gray, so, or white, whatever is your default color for mobile. So that way I know exactly in which breakpoint I am, you know, and we can strategize accordingly, you see. So let's do that. So let's get going with the implementation of this finally. So as I said, let's go from the smallest to the largest. So if I see the source material over here, source design, so this is the purple box, there is a gray box, there is a white box, and there is a black or dark box, and there is another white box. So all one after the other, and there is a gap in between. This is quite easy, right? So let's go to the app layout. So before we jump into that, so this is, as I mentioned, this is my main grid content right over here. I have like first one as an article, second one, and so on and so forth. And basically I can go inside and show you what they are, but if you want to see that how I have done this, you know, this template images, these are actually the slots. I'll tackle it in the end phase of this video, but we don't need to worry about that. So don't worry about that. We will directly, you know, use this article to actually position ourselves. So you can see, right, everyone has a testimonial card inside them. So testimonial cards, so these are nothing but testimonial cards that I am using. So right off the bat, what I can do, right, make it a grid. That's simple, right? Make it a grid. And not only that, we need a gap of maybe 6. Why not? If I do that, you see, this is our grid example, by the way, and this is the original. So you see, and it is matching now. There is a gap, and we are essentially done at this point. We are essentially done. So this is what the original design looks like, and this is what the updated design looks like. So no problem there. Now the challenge arises when we go a little bit further. So the next breakpoint, you see, in the next breakpoint, now the grid now typically has, in this example, basically, it has 2 columns, if you see, and the top one and all the other ones are spanning 2 columns, but the small ones are not spanning 2 columns. And another interesting fact, this last one changed its position. You see, Kiara actually is the last one there. So this is another challenge that we have tackled, that the order in different breakpoints might be different depending on the design needs. So that's what the challenge I'm talking about, that we are going to tackle in basically Tailwind CSS. So how can we do that? So we know this is small, right? So let's go to small breakpoint. So S is red, right? Go until it is red. Yep, this is the small breakpoint. So let's design the small breakpoint. Perfect. So we already know it is going to take two columns, right? So grid column 2, grid calls 2. So that's going to make it 2 columns. But everyone is taking 1 span, but we don't want that. So we will do. So first one is taking 2, the gray one is taking 1, and the dark one is taking 2, and the final white one is taking 2 in this example, right? So that's what we are going to do, and the position will tackle it at the end. Okay, so let's move it. So first one is taking 2, so call span 2. That's it. You see, call, it is now taking 2. Now the other ones are also going to take 2, so not the second and third, the fourth one is going to take 2, call span 2, and similar on the fifth one, call span 2, right? So by doing that, we have kind of achieved what we want to do, but still there is a gap. If you see, right, that this one needs to come first. So what we need to do, by the way, there is a problem that I said, right? In the small breakpoint only I want to achieve this, and same for the small breakpoints here. Small breakpoints there, small breakpoints there, and small breakpoint here as well, small breakpoint. So if I do that, then it is still going to work, and the mobile is still intact. The mobile view is still intact, and in the small breakpoint it is still showing correctly, right? So let's now tackle the order. That is clearly different, right? So how do we do that? Easy. Like we know that in small breakpoint, this one is the order 1, right? And the medium, this one is order in small breakpoint, order 2, right? In small breakpoint, order 3, order 3, and this one in small breakpoint order not 4, this is going to be 5, and in small breakpoint order 4, so this is going to take, you see now. So the ordering is completely different depending on the breakpoint. So if I go back to the mobile view, you see the Kiara ones is still under there. So in small breakpoint, we see that Kiara is taking the third one, and like that. So by default, right, let's give it a default as well. So default order 1, order 2, order 3, order 4, and by default order 5. This is for the mobile, by the way, extreme case. So when I go back, you see Kiara is coming at the end of it, not the previous. So if I just move it a bit, you see it's changing position right when it is turning red. Okay, there is more to it, of course. So let's tackle the next breakpoint. So if I move to the next breakpoint, yep, here. So you see now the order is a bit different. So it is still 2-column grid, right? 1 column and another column. So 2-column grid, but order is now quite different. First one is still in the first place, second. Now Kiara moved to third. Okay, and this one Janet moved to fourth basically. So we need to do that. Okay, so it is still going to stay 1, so we can actually remove this if you see, because it is always going to stay the same, so we don't need to explicitly call that out. And also 3, we don't need to explicitly call that out. Only the thing that is changing is 4 and 5, right? The 4 and 5, yes. Order 3 is up to here, but in medium breakpoint it is going to be order 4. Now in medium breakpoint this would be order 5 now, and this would be in medium breakpoint order 3, in medium breakpoint order 5. Yep, if I save it, in the medium breakpoint the columns are the same, right? Now if I look at this one, this doesn't look alright, right? Why? This is taking 2 span still in medium breakpoint. So the Kiara one is actually at number 3, but you see small has 2 call span, but we need to reset it. In medium it will have call span 1, but row span is going to be 2. So in medium breakpoint row span is going to be 2. Yeah, so now if we see, it exactly looks similar to the source design, correct? So that's easy. Okay, let's see if we broke the small design and extra small design, it is still 2 up at the top, the order is preserved, and like at extreme lower one is still looking all right. So let's move on to the next breakpoint. So the other breakpoint, right? Next breakpoint is this one. Okay, this one may be the large breakpoint, right? Large breakpoint. So let's move on to the large breakpoint, RGB, blue. Yeah, I'm in large breakpoint. So what is the order? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it is still 3. So here it is still 3. But if we see large breakpoint, it is taking 3 columns. If you see, this is 1 column, this is 1 column, so there is a column in the middle. So these are spanning 2 columns, but this one is taking 1, and this is taking all 3 columns, right? So now in large breakpoint, let's collapse this in large breakpoint. So in LG we need to have a different grid column arrangement. So grid column 3. So there it is going to be 3. So if I go back to our, still doesn't look alright, of course, because this is taking 2 rows, 1 row, another row, because we set it in the previous breakpoint, right? So it is going to, so mobile first means whatever defined in the previous breakpoint, it is going to continue to the highest one basically. So let's fix that. So how do we fix it? Reset, of course. Last one, this one, right? Let me collapse it. This one in large breakpoint, it is going to be so row span is going to be 1, and large breakpoint call span is 3, right? That's what it is going to be. What wrap? Let me wrap it. So if I move, you see this is our design, right? This is what we are designing against this. This looks exactly the same. Let's see if we broke the smaller ones. Nope. Actually, if you do it this way, you are never going to break it. That's for sure. So if you look at this one, everything is correctly aligned. So in blue also, if we see, it is perfectly working. Now the final one, the extra large. When we move to extra large, it looks like this, right? How do we do that? Let's move to extra large. We know extra large is amber, right? Yep, this is amber. So let's move. In extra large, let's one more time take a look at it. Now we see that there is the grid layout entirely different, if you remember, right? Now it has 4 columns. 1 is here, 2 is here, 3 and 4. So let's go and build that. So in large breakpoint we need 4, right? So how do we do that? Here in Excel breakpoint, my bad, Excel breakpoint, we need grid calls 4, right? It is not going to be sufficient, but let's see how it looks. It is all messed up, right? Because if you remember, we explicitly set this one to span 3 columns in large breakpoint. So in extra large breakpoint, it is still going to carry over, as I mentioned, right? So how do we do that? Again, go back to our last one, basically. So in extra large breakpoint, this is going to be call span. Let's take the call span first. So I've reset the call span, right? Now it is taking like this, but actually we want to expand to second row as well, right? So just Excel row span 2. That's it. Here we go. This one is the original. This one is Tailwind CSS version that we are making, right? Now in the next breakpoint, in the next breakpoint, in the next breakpoint, everything looks all right. So this is a cool trick that you can do. You know, start from the lowest resolution device and then move up. That way you won't be able to miss any point, and design for the lowest end first and then go to the other breakpoints, however you want. Now one final thing is we need shadows, right? So let's apply shadows. So I know where to put it. So in the testimonial card I can quickly put like shadow Excel, maybe, just for the sake of it. Yep, there is some shadow, and as I mentioned in the layout file, right, we can now safely remove all those colors, and now this is the final version. You see, this is the original, this is the other one. So if I go extreme to the left and then let's compare, okay, then this is the one. So there are some minor scaling differences and, you know, the font differences that might be there. I'm not copying exactly to the source, just enough to make us understand, right, that how to build such things, such complicated grid layout, to actually make it a reality in Tailwind CSS. Now I promised, right, that we are going to put some extra flair over here in this one. So we all know what flair we are going to add. So in testimonial card we can add 2 magic classes, transition transform and hover scale 105. That's it. Now the good thing is this now looks like this when you hover over it. I kind of like it, so that's why I add it. Pretty much anywhere that I want some interaction to show the user that they are interacting with which one. If you don't like it, you can remove it. Of course, it is just these two classes wherever you put. Now let's see how we have done these, right? I promised I will explain how we have done that. So if you see app layout, right, it is just a wrapper, right? It is just a wrapper, already mentioned, it is just to center. In ideal scenario, you won't need it, or this would be your layout file where there would be navigation and other stuff. This is not a view tutorial. Again, just talking about component driven architecture in general. So you might have a layout component that will wrap all of your components inside, so that there you might have navigation, sidebar, footer, etc., the common things. And the main thing basically that will change. Again, this is not the right place for it, the app. There will be a home page or maybe other pages, and this is where the routing will live. But anyway, just for the sake of it, let's bear with me. And there is a testimonial card, right? Why? So in the testimonial card, the first one, you see, I'm only taking what is the background and background color, and you see BG quote, and you see that this is what we have extended, right? If you see Tailwind config file, this one quote will create bg-quote, a new utility function, utility class, sorry. And what else? Testimonial card. So let's go to the first one, and bg top right 10. Again, this one, another utility we have added, top right 10. So top right 10% that we have added. I'll give a link to the Tailwind CSS documentation, how you can extend it, so that you can also use that. And now I'm using this, right? There is an image, and this is where the image tag lives. There is a template for the profile section, where profile section lives, and the other general text. These are some large texts that I copied. I'm not going to bother you about what I have copied. So basically that. So how am I doing that? So as you can see, the image section is rounded, the image is rounded, right? So that's what I'm doing here, like width 8, overflow hidden, and rounded full. So, and this is the slot for the image. So any image slot and whatever inside will come here. And this is the profile section. So this is leading none, so that it is aligned with the design basically. So you see, this is where exactly Tailwind CSS shines, right? It is a flex box, it is going to have a gap, it is going to have rounded LG, some padding, shadow, all of this basically I've extracted to a component. Now the testimonial card only concerns itself with what is the background color, what is the text color for that background color, contrast, to be in contrast. If we look at the next one, yeah, that will be more evident. Next one, right? Just two, like this is the background light, and we are going to have a natural light text. That's it, just those two. So this is where we are only defining the contrast, and the nitty-gritty is the layout, the composition of that component is hidden inside the component basically, and we are just exposing some variable things that we want to make it variable. Basically the image is going to be some variable factor. Again, the color of this text would be a variable factor. Maybe sizes of these might be variable, but again, you can also make slots for these, like name and then job title, maybe like this, or role. I'm not sure what this is, but kind of like that. And again, the paragraph, basically the paragraph, what color it will have, what text it will text excel, or what sort of text it will have. So those sort of definitions about them will live up at the top level, and the structural things are actually hidden inside the component, right? So that's how we can extend it basically. So again, that's a huge mumbo jumbo. I'm not going to bore you with that. So this is the final one. I hope you like how I built it. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel for future updates. Basically, I'm going to do a lot more coding things in the future, and hopefully you will like it. And also share with your friends, and so that they also understand how it is done and how they can also leverage Tailwind CSS. I'm also going to cover Node.js related stuff in the future as well. I guess that's about it. Thank you. Bye bye.